on the right place. Don't move, please. So our session today is about turning innovation into impact. We believe on climate smart solution. How can we scale it for the benefit of the farmers? So that's really a discussion. So it's my pleasure. My name is Ousmane Ndiaye. I'm from Senegal, and I'm leading a center called AGMAT, African Center of Methodological Application for Development. It's based in Niamey, and its role is to coordinate the climate information services for the countries in Africa, for our members countries. So today, as I said, that's our subject. But before that, we'll have an introduction message from WFP. It will be our video we'll play first, and after we'll go to the panel. So we'll have the video, and after that, we have the panel and a concluding remark. Of course, we'll be opening remark for that. Can we have the video, please?
The Amazon plays a vital role in regulating global rating patterns, storing carbon, and sustainable biodiversity. What happened in this region directly influences the health of our planet, our agriculture. In this context, science and innovation are essential. They provide the tools, insights, and partnerships we need to solve climate challenges to opportunities for sustainable transformation. At the FAO of innovation, we take a systemic approach. Innovation for us is not only about technology, it's about connecting science, policy, and people to make solutions practical, scalable, and inclusive. Our portfolio of innovation services reflect the vision. We work on behavioral science, foresight, innovation policy maps, future farming field groups, and innovation challenges that mobilize youth and experts across regions. We are advancing climate-smart and data-driven innovations that strengthen resilience of society systems, from the use of AI tools for climate policy and planning to practical solutions that help farmers adapt to droughts, and other climate trends. At the same time, we are working to ensure that digital innovation itself remains sustainable, reducing the energy, emerging technologies, closing data gaps in low and middle income countries, and creating fair data ecosystems where farmers can benefit value their data generates. Science and innovation form the bridge between vision and implementation. When researchers, innovators, policymakers, and farmers work together, we can build agrifood systems and feed humanity while restoring ecosystems. Thank you, and I wish you a very successful event at the CGIAR.
Thank you. So it was Vincent, who is the Director of Innovation at FAO, sorry, FAO. So thanks very much for that, Vincent. So it's very well heard. Today, what we try to do, we'll try to explore what if you actually scale the climate smart solution. And we'll talk in particular with how evidence guides decisions, how institutions align around delivery, and finally, how partnerships are instrumental for enabling scale. For the introduction remark, it's my pleasure to call to Todd. Todd Rostock is the Director of the Climate Action Science Program at CGIAR. So Todd, your word of Thank you. Don't worry, that's him.
So I promised these guys I would do a tumbling routine, and I didn't want to hurt myself when I got up here. So 2 out of 10, 2 out of 10. But now we have some engagement in the room. So then we're getting there. We're scaling some engagement as we speak. So as Usman said, my name's Todd Rosenstock. I'm the director of the CGIAR Climate Action Program. And this is one of the new science programs, the cross-institutional science programs of the CGIAR, and one that's putting on this pavilion. And so one of the to give opening remarks, I almost feel that I'm stating the obvious here. 50 years of research within the CGIAR really brings us back to 3 key principles about what brings things to scale. And this is this isn't new. These are things that we've been thinking about for a long time. The first one, Anyone? You have to solve a real problem. Yeah, I mean, how more obvious could that be? Is that there's actually we've found that obviously the things that go to scale are solving problems for farmers. For instance, we've been working on alternate wetting and drying. So the rice technology, the rice innovation, rice production innovation, where you dry down your field. Everybody's been thinking about it in terms of methane emissions for a long time. In Vietnam, it didn't start to scale until we started to be able to show the water benefits, the water savings, and so that was what was driving the actual uptake of the technology. The second one that we've learned, it must be part of it. You have to have a delivery system. In Kenya, how long has been ILRI? I'm pointing at my colleague here from ILRI, Todd Crane, the International Livestock Research Institute. They've been working on new feeding, new diets for livestock for 40, 45 years. The only thing that they didn't start to begin to scale until they started to develop farmer to farmer relationships and new ways of developing those actually transmission of information, transmission of knowledge between trusted partners. And this is in just a couple of years taking new innovations, new feeding compositions to scale. And the third one, it's about partnership. So we see in this room, there's many of the partners that work within the CGIAR. And it's that partnership and bringing those partners in the room from the get-go that has really brought things to scale. We've been working at the Alliance of Biodiversity, and CIAD has been working on digital tools to help policymakers and investors design NDCs and investment plans and investments for the Green Climate Fund and others. Yes, the data were there, the data were good. But until they got the accredited entities into the room, until they got the decision makers in the room, nobody was using these tools. They brought them in the room. They slightly redesigned some of the tools, and now they're being used left and right. So it really just comes down to three very obvious principles. Make sure that you're solving a problem. Make sure that you have a delivery system, and make sure that you have partnership. Unfortunately, this is sometimes left out, and some small changes in those processes can actually mean a big difference in our ability to achieve scale. So I look forward to interacting with you all over the course of today, and look forward to this exciting session. Thanks.
Thank you, Todd. Thanks very much. Thanks for your impressive thank you. So we are going to start now the panel, and please, it's my pleasure to introduce our two panelists. The first one is Professor Paul Winters. Please, Paul, can you join the podium? Paul is the Executive Director of Aim for Scale and Professor at the University of Notre Dame, providing global leadership on scaling evidence-backed agriculture innovation and shaping energies that help countries deliver informed, focused digital and climate smart solution. Thank you, Paul, for joining us. Our second is Dr. Giriraj Amarat. Giriraj is the research group leader at IWMI and is leading the pioneering work on water data, anticipatory action, and digital tools that strengthen drought management, disease preparedness, and climate resilience across Asia and Africa. Thanks very much for joining us. So I will let you to introduce yourself and introduce your work before we go to the question. I will start with Professor Paul.
Thanks. Hi, I'm a professor at the University of Notre Dame, but I work for Aim for Scale. It's the Agricultural Innovation Mechanism for Scale. It comes out of COP28. At COP28, we announced with the government of UAE a number of innovations that we thought had potential to scale. And we also announced the creation of Aim for Scale. The idea of this is to identify a few innovations that are have a lot of evidence that they're scalable, and then to work with the different actors working in the space to try to get them to scale it. So that includes CGIAR, it includes the development banks, it includes organizations like WMO and a number of others, depending on the relevant innovation.
Thanks, Paul. Paul, as Aim for Scale, I will tell you, Paul. Paul, as Aim for Scale, focus on translating evidence, scalable action. How are you using rigorous evaluation through partners with governments, with universities, to identify which innovation are really truly ready to scale?
Okay, thanks. I'm also going to give you three things for scale, but they're not going to be the same thing. Three things as Todd. So you can vote at the end who's got a better list of three. Obviously, I agree with Todd that you have to be addressing a real problem. So that's a key part of it. But the first thing that I think we need to do is make sure that we have clarity on what evidence you have and what is needed to scale. And I say this partly, John and I were talking about before the events, issues that we often have about innovations, particularly when we're talking about to scientists about innovations. And they get very excited about the scientific policy of possibilities of innovation. But you often find in the field that these aren't scaled because they don't meet the behavioral needs of farmers. They are often ignore the fact that you need complementary inputs in order to scale individual innovation. They often ignore the fact that there are behavioral responses that might not be expected that you get on an experiment station. And so the first thing you need to do is to look at that evidence and to see whether you have proper evidence that suggests farmers themselves are going to adopt. And organizations like One Acre Fund, a lot of others use randomized control trials and similar approaches that look at the behavioral response. If we provide this innovation, are they going to respond adequately and actually adopt? So the first thing is clarity on the evidence and whether that evidence suggests scalability. The second is somewhat noted or linked to the points that Todd made. I'm just going to say it slightly differently. The second thing is you need to have a sense of what are the reasons why things are not scaling. I'm an economist. We tend to think, okay, an innovation's out there. No one had to scale my Apple phone. It scaled all its own, right? By the private sector, by making a product. There are a lot of innovations out there, including here in Brazil, that are promising, that have been taken up, that developed by organizations like Embrapa and taken to scale through the private sector. However, there's a lot that do not. They don't because the small scale producers don't have the right financial abilities to do that. There's information problems, they're public goods. So there's a lot that don't, and you need governments to get in there to help scale things. And so there's the second thing is to come up with a clear idea of why this isn't scaling and what kind of investments you are doing. One of the areas we're trying to scale that Usman's working with us in his expertise on weather is AI-generated weather information. It's all over the place. It's being done by Google, NVIDIA, these big companies. How do we get that to small-scale farmers in Senegal? How do we make that? Well, you need to make sure that's available for Senegal. You need to make sure that they have the right kind of AI weather because there's a whole bunch of options. So you need to make sure they're benchmarked. You need to make sure you have a system to deliver it to farmers. You need to make sure that farmers will read those messages and respond accordingly. So this is what we call an innovation package. It's the idea that you need to think of all the bottlenecks that are going to keep you from scaling and to think conceptually about what you need to do. And then the third thing is that you need to obviously work at a country-specific pathway. If you're working on Senegal, it's one set of issues. If you're working on Ethiopia or Bangladesh, there's another set of issues. There's different starting points. There's different contexts. There's different important partnerships that you would like to develop. So the third thing is that context-specific pathway. Are they interested? Where are the limitations to scale? And what's stopping us from getting ahead in that country? Thanks.
Thanks, Paul. Very clear. It's my pleasure now to introduce Paula Parker. And thanks for coming. Paula is the head of Embrapa Environment. I hope I pronounce it right. And thanks very much. And I was actually wondering about our gender balance, but now it's fine. It's better, much better. All right. Thanks very much for coming. So I will turn now to Giriraj. So Giriraj, the AI program, fine, okay. So the AI program at IWMI has been advancing in India. Shows up advanced modeling and language localized advisory can transform drought management. What are the key design principles or partnerships that made it scalable and locally relevant?
Thank you, Usman, and also for organizing this side event with the aim for scale and Embrapa and other partners. I mean, it's a very challenging question as well when we talk about partnership. I would give an example of what we are doing currently with the government of India. We have, last 15 years, we have been working on an initiative called South Asia Drought Monitoring System. which was built in collaboration with the Indian Council of Agriculture Research. And it got into a lot of challenges when we start about building climate services, providing drought triggers, developing remote sensing derived monitoring capabilities, and also the lack of understanding on the hydrological system. So we do have in the last a decade or so, this entire platforms were operationalized for the region of South Asia. And now one of the few countries that more of the South Asia has adapted the tool. But if I just speak of South Asia, was one of the issue was how do you localize that information for management decision? So we looked at 4 different products in terms of drought code, in terms of drought management information, and there is a quite a relevant of partnership is happening. But what was lacking was the greater understanding of localizing that information with the provincial government, the local district authorities. And what we eventually did was the role of bringing the artificial intelligence to accelerate that process, what we have done in the a decade or so. So we partnered with Google. We had access to Google Gemini model, and we have brought in the Google forecast information, and they are seamlessly accessible to any part of the village now. But the unique part of the data that's not available in large part of Africa or even in South America is digitalizing the contingency plan. So the human-centered approach of contingency plans have been developed for the whole India, which was done by the government of India. So we digitalized that entire process in terms of what you need to do if there is 2 weeks of delay for crop, livestock, and fisheries. So we have that decoded system is available now in the Drought Sukarakshak AI. So if a farmer is asking, the next 2 weeks seems to be a drought, and what should I do? So it looks at the language model, asking, I'm a livestock farmer, what should I do? But the plan is prepared by the government in collaboration with the extension and as well as the farmers. So because there is no hallucination in this case, because we are not just asking ChatGPT to type something. The model is built within that. So there is a lot of partnership has gone into building that capability. And for one information is that this has mainstreamed into the National Drought Mitigation Project, which is an investment of over 150 million US dollar investment, which is happening. So we can see that how it's going to scale the partnership that we are driving in the last few years and how that is going to benefit the farmers in terms of localizing the data. And the one unique information also is that it has got 22 native language information is also bundled within that. Country like India, there is about 300 plus languages are available. So 22 native languages are packaged within that system itself. So partnership was very, very critical to drive that entire process.
Thank you. Now, Paula, so the real problem is scaling up, working at scale. And I'm interested also in the South-South collaboration. So my question to you, I know that Embrapa has been central to transforming Brazil agri-food system. What can we learn? What lesson do you have to give to come up with this solution?
Okay, good afternoon, everybody. To think about scaling up mainly technology and science, remember that I'm a scientist, and it's we needed to do in a corporation, a scientific corporation, it's difficult to bring science with the innovation and to the farmers and to the partners. So we introduced inside Embrapa in the last 10 years an open innovation systems to bring the partners, okay? It could be big farmers, oh my God, big private companies. It could be small ones and could be mediums one, and it could be family farmers. So we need to think about all of them. To lead the information to them, we need partners in all of this multi-task agriculture system in Brazil. So we need to regionalize, and we are trying to do different things. Bringing science in a hub that's called AgNest. It's a farm lab, And so we are trying to bring the startups and bring the scientists and small and big companies to scale up innovation. To go to small farmers is, I think in Brazil, it's a little bit more difficult too. We need to do a technology transfer program. And then this technology transfer program, it needs to be regionally. Remember, Brazil is a huge country also. It doesn't have like 3 languages, but it has 6 biomes that are totally different. So we are trying to do regionally things and scale up with e-learning and with what kind of with 2 big programs that Embrapa is leading. It's called Digital CGIAR. It's like a CD digital. And another program it's led by the Ministry of Development. It's called oh, now I remember. I forget I forget in Portuguese.
In Portuguese, that's fine.
It's a program. It's a terra digital. Okay, it's like technology transfer in the digital way. So we have already developed more or less like 25 different focus, like sweet potatoes, climate change, high technology. So it's diverse. Beans, goats. So they have different kinds of purpose for different kinds of farmers. And it looks for the small farmers. Because here in Brazil, it's the cell phone. I think it's available all over the country. Only in the poor places that you need a social innovation to give take the technology to the farmers.
Thanks very much, Paulo. Thank you. I have a second round of questions, but I see that in the audience, we have very knowledgeable people. Is there any question, anything you want to add in to make it dynamic? Anyone? Yes, please. Yeah, please go ahead. Yeah.
Such a wonderful panel. How can we not? Yeah, so my name is Mada. I'm an Australian Brazilian. And 5 years ago, I had a wonderful experience in Addis Ababa with the Gates Foundation with ILRI. And the purpose was to add a third dimension to Embrapa's tech transfer, which was to bring in the African innovation sector, the small startups that were building tools. And the one example I remember, we met the founder of iCow. And iCow takes ILRI advice, veterinary advice, and just translates it through a peer-to-peer text service, SMS, where hundreds of thousands of farmers every week, every 3 or 4 days get some important message. And it's through the innovation sector, not the research community, that the distribution of knowledge actually scales, maybe. So I'm wondering if there are common experiences around that third party joining producers and science.
Thanks. There are other types of examples like that are around. I was at ICA's Digital Agricultural Week in San Jose recently. And it was a bunch of tech companies that are trying to take various forms of science to farmers. The problem that I asked them, because they were on a panel, and I asked them about this, the problem that I found, and I think this is true of iCow from the information I have, is that they don't scale all that much. It is 100, couple 100,000, which is great. And you hear all these people on these panels, and they're fantastic. You think, how exciting. And then you ask them, well, how much scale? And we went across this panel, it was like 10,000, 20,000, 10,000. I'm sorry, that's not good enough. Right? There's 500 million farmers around the world, well, 600 million, and 200, 300, depending how you define them as small scale producers. How do we scale to all of those? We're trying to at Aim for Scale and trying to work through ways to do that. we're relying heavily on the development banks who put a lot of money into these projects and trying to see if we can work through that. But it is a question that we're trying to answer, and Aim for Scale is an experiment in trying to do that.
Thank you, Paul. Yeah. I'll comment.
Yeah, thanks.
Can I compliment it? At Embrapa now, we had like some interchange programs, and now there is one with UK Innovation, Embrapa, and Ghana, and they are trying to do like sensors for the Sigatoga, the black Sigatoga, to predict the disease, to get in and to put less chemicals in the banana and it's difficult to scale up. It depends where are you putting the technology, and it's difficult to scale up also in medium farmers. They are not open sometimes to high technology. I don't know why also.
Yes.
I would give an example of Sri Lanka. One fine day, the president waked up and he said, no more fertilizer, only organic farming. And it really brought a lot of crisis, the rain-fed farmers in a distressed position. And then they collaborated with IWMI to digitalize the farmland to demonstrate only for 10,000 farmers. And the important part was that the financial banks really valued that particular product. And now today, over 1.82 million farmers have been scaled out with digitalizing their land, type of crop, and they have provided a transaction of 4 billion LKR in the last 4 years. So we do have some promising innovation, but the government backing is very, very crucial. This is part of our innovation we have done there.
Go ahead and introduce yourself, please.
Yeah, thank you. My name's Todd Crane from the International Livestock Research Institute. I'm familiar with ICAO. I know the woman who's founded it, and I'm very familiar with her work. And I think ICAO is not going to reach 500 million farmers. ICAO has, I think, shown very well a business model that works in reaching farmers, and not only in reaching farmers at a pretty good scale, considering the size of the operation, but I think one of the really, from their work in Kenya, what I think is really innovative there is that the people delivering the information are very close to the farmers. This is not a professionalized scientist extension system. These are the work in Kenya on soil management. These are Boda boys. They're guys who drive motorcycles around and move people from place to place in the community. So yeah, let's not look to ICAO to hit 500 million farmers, but let's look from the business model that they've developed and see how we can adapt that to many, many places. Because I don't think we should be looking to any organization to reach 500 million farmers. We need lots of small, able, agile organizations that can reach hundreds of thousands of farmers.
Thank you. Any other things in the audience? Okay, you want to comment something?
I agree that, and that's part of the issue. That partly raises the question is whether any individual startup company like that can reach, even within a country, a large percent or millions of farmers. And then that brings the question of what's the role of government in trying to do this? And so we've had a lot of discussions with our technical panel. Usman's on our weather one, but we also have a technical panel on digital advisory services, which is a mix of researchers as well as implementers from CG. And I think there's a representative from Hillary on there. But what role does the public sector play becomes a big one, and should they at minimum provide a basic platform by which information can be provided, and then private companies should use it in a public-private partnership potentially, but should you have basic digital public infrastructure for agriculture that provides basic information like weather and other information like that?
Thank you. Thanks, Paul. Keep the mic. So we are going to talk about the gaps, but what I want to talk about is prioritization. Where to should put the priorities. Let's say you have 1 billion. You are Bill Gates, for example. Right? No, you are not. Okay. And you want to invest in this upscaling of climate smart technology innovation. Where will you put it in the chain? Where do you think in the chain is very important It is a missing link where you want to invest. One part of this chain of delivery, please, Paul.
To me, it's the delivery to farmers.
Deliveries.
There's a lot of people with smartphones around the world.
Welcome to her, yeah.
And I know that there's a digital divide, but until we reach the ones that do have smartphones, we should be trying to get that far.
Okay.
So that I'd put the money in delivery.
Delivery, thank you. You have 1 billion, don't worry.
Did you put in one place only?
Yeah.
Only.
Based on your experience in Brazil.
Nowadays, I think it comes together, science and technology transfer.
Okay.
Because I'm not thinking only on high-tech technology, but you can have like biological technologies to reach the farmers, to mitigate drought. It's not a high-tech climate technology, but it is still climate technology. I think it needs to be both science and technology transfer.
You need more than 1 billion, I see. Okay.
Uh,
2 billion, yes. All right.
I would put something in my packet as well, little bit of.
He's a smart guy.
So my focus would be more on market and value chain.
Okay.
Why? Because my colleague also going to fill already the smartphone based access to information.
Mm-hmm.
If farmers start diversifying and producing good crops, if we don't see the value of market and the whole service model, they are not going to show more interest on crop diversification, because the impact of water scarcity is going to be immensely going to be affect Africa or many part of the region. So more we should focus is on market and value chain.
Mhm.
That will take care some of the demand of accessing climate services. That kind of a technology things would be taken care by its own.
Do you agree, guys? What do you think?
Come on.
Is it the right place to invest? Anyone? People are silent. You remember what they say? Yes. Huh? No, you will have the last word anyway. So you are not part of it. Anyone want to take it? Okay, great. Here we go.
I think me too, if the question was asking to me. Okay, my name is Wenlasida Sandrine Kombera. I work for ACMAD. And I would go for delivering, because so many farmers in the case of Africa, my countries, they don't have maybe smartphones. So to have access to information, they need a system. They need technology transfer. So I will go to delivery. Yeah, thank you.
Good. Any other one? Okay, there.
So
Go ahead, yeah.
oh no,
Then- yeah.
Take the mic. Okay. So my name is Eric. I'm working for an agricultural bank.
Oh.
It's quite strange for me not to hear that you will invest in training the people. Because if you have a look on the history, especially in the French history, we have created cooperatives, we have created cooperatives bank, and this goes to the training of the people. It's strange for me to hear technology, science, delivery, and so, and not to hear from you that you want to train people.
Training. All right. I like that. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah. No, he's not. No, he already spoke.
you don't have an opinion.
No.
Who are you anyway? Just kidding. So building on this idea, I love peer-to-peer trust networks. And in this world of social media where we're all influencing each other, that's the kernel in ICAO that matters. How do we scale the peer-to-peer networks using information that's guaranteed, blah, blah, blah.
Okay. Any last opinion in the public? All right. Now I have my last question for you. Thanks very much again for that. I know that you have a lot of experience working on that. I mean, the investment is one thing, but why is not working? I'm not talking about where we need to investment, but we invest a lot. We're talking these things about long time, but why is not working for you? Why do you think it is a bottleneck? Why is it not working? We start. I'll start here.
Okay. I think
Upscaling the innovation.
yeah, I think this is not a thing that all the meteorology and hydrological service has been trying to do their best. But I think the main challenge is the political willpower.
Political will.
Political willpower is the biggest challenge, I would say. Then it will automatically get into more investments in climate services infrastructure. Maybe they might need a different language to explain them what the service we are looking at to reach out to smallholder farmers delivery. So political empowerment is very, very critical.
Talk about national one or things like the COP, general
I think more at the national level.
national level. Paula.
I agree with the public policies. I think we have here a very nice example. It's called ZARC. It's a prediction model and that organize in cultures and what you can plant in the period of the year. So it's a risk management. If you don't plant in this window, probably you don't have insurance. So it's a good example. It's a huge example. It's spread all over Brazil, and it goes to small cultures and big cultures. But also, I think a very interesting thing. It depends on the place on Brazil. The cooperatives are very, very important because they treat with small farmers. But you also need to do technology transfer to, how can I say, poor farmers that we have also here in Brazil. So we need to have a connection of a lot of things to bring for them, to bring the technology. But the poor farmers, they need a thing, but they need basic things that they don't have.
Yeah, sure.
So we need to bring the basics to bring the technologies. And sometimes this network, and if you are being successful, your neighborhood will try to do the same. So it's a kind of a connection also.
No, you wait. Another question for you.
Oh, another question.
I was amazed when I visited Colombia country. They have this kind of Federal Ross, I don't know, organization of farmers. But they even build their own research kind of research. So they do research as farmers, and they employ some people, engineer, coming to do research on their own problems that they have. Is the maize not working? Why is this problem? And they solve actual problem. Do you have this kind of organization? Where's the organization is driving the innovation?
I think Embrapa do a part of it. So we do until going to the farmer. Sometimes we go directly to the farmer with the technology, but it's not in our mission to go to the farmer. So we need some institution to deliver the things and to deliver technology also, and to deliver all kind of different science-based to the farmers. So we need a person or institution between Embrapa and the farmers.
Got you. Okay, thank you. Paul, so you remember the question, right?
I agree with the policy will is really important and the technology, but for those of us in the ag development community, I think a fundamental problem is we don't think of scale and impact. We consistently fail to do so and think about what the ultimate objective is. The gentleman that was talking from the Ag Development Bank, talks about training. So to me, training, of course, is important, but that's ultimately, when I say delivery, that's partly might include training. But the end result is we need to deliver innovations that are going to have an impact on productivity, profitability, income, improved livelihoods, all of those types of things. And we don't think in those terms. If you look at the health sector, it's incredibly different. If they talk about vaccines or HIV AIDS drugs or bed nets, they immediately are talking about, do we get it to tens of millions of people or not? Because if we don't, we failed. In agriculture, we consistently do these little projects. I worked at EFAD for 5 years. I love EFAD. It has a great model, but I had the deputy director of ILRI come to my office and tell me about great livestock innovation that he thought could change the world. And I said, I'm sorry, we do projects that have 50 to 100,000 people with governments, and we can't do that kind of thing. This is why I started doing Aim for Scale, was that experience at EFAD started making me think, well, how are we going to do this type of thing? So really, we have to think more about, like the health sector, like education sector, how do we get to lots of people and how do we have an impact?
Thank you. Thanks, Paul. Paul, usually as economics now, I'm asking this question. Usually people are saying a lot of numbers out there in economics, saying if you invest in this climate information services, $1, you will get out $10. I heard $5. I heard $8. What is the right number as economists?
The right number is a lot.
I
Part of it, the differences in estimates are due to the different studies, right?
Okay.
So, like we've estimated in India, this University of Chicago, up to $100 per dollar invested.
Oh.
But that makes sense, right? There's a lot of Indians. If you send out 38 million messages, which was done last summer, weather messages, and it costs about $5 million, that's a lot of return. So a lot depends on how big the country is and how big the return is. One of the things that consistently comes out, though, good weather information has a high economic return in orders of magnitude.
got it.
So
Okay.
it's worth investing in either way.
You get a lot. Anyway, I got it. Any other last chance? Okay, here you go.
Yes, thank you. My name is Lamine Diatta. I am working for the Ministry of Environment and Ecological Transition of Senegal. And I would like to thank you and to also appreciate this very important panel. So maybe I will be also adding my voice on what has been said in this panel about scaling up this investment for climate smart solutions at the government side, because I'm also working on policy planning and saying that sometimes it's very difficult to mainstream this kind of a solution on the public finance investment, because it's a matter of a process, a matter of also understanding. We are trying to track climate investment into public policies, but sometimes it's very difficult. What is adaptation? What is mitigation in this side? It's a matter of like metrics, a matter of common understanding of that. The other thing will be sometime to bring a government to invest on climate solution, we have some challenges. When you like from the research area are promoting one approach, sometimes you focus on the impact, positive impact, but you don't give us enough information about the drivers, what we have to take into account when we are promoting. So one solution can work in Bangladesh. We bring it in Senegal, it is not working because sometimes the social context is not the same, and also the climate context is not the same. So we need the information about what can be taken into account around the impact to ensure that it will be effective on the ground. That kind of information are really needed. And also some the tools, because I'm working in the policy area. If I have to mention something, I need some tools to do it. And those tools are sometimes lacking. And I'm also thanking IUMI, working with Senegal with some tools we can use to mention that investment in climate smart solutions. Thank you.
Thanks, Lamine. Lamine is very active. I remember back in Senegal when doing the climate change. So before letting the panel go, I have a last question. Paula, why people was manifesting yesterday in the morning here?
Oh my God. It's not a science question.
Is it easy or tough? What happened?
Okay, let me explain a little bit. We have, I think, when we talk about climate change in Brazil, we have a huge problem that is deforestation.
Deforestation. Yep.
And they come here probably to be listen about their own land, because it's not a property, it's their own land. So they are trying to be seen as an original people in Brazil. And remember, we had like a lot of different influences since Brazil was discovered. So they were here, but we came to Brazil. So they are probably, I didn't listen so much, but this is the point, because deforestation and to preserve their land.
Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Yes,
Please
they're right.
join me to thank the panel for this nice discussion. Thanks very much again. And thanks also for yourself. Now it's my pleasure to introduce, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot. To introduce John Mundy. John, can you join me? Yes. John will have the closing remark. John is a director of global partnership, and that's all I got, John. They put me into big difficulties. They can't give me your CV. But anyway, I know you can introduce yourself. Please, John, what do you think about all this discussion? And what is the take-home message?
Take-home messages. Well, very difficult to summarize such an energizing and grounded,
introduce yourself,
wide-ranging discussion. My name is John Mundy. I am the Director of Global Partnerships in Climate Finance and Tech at One Acre Fund. I do not have a PhD, which probably makes me the odd one out in this room. I do have a PhD. And One Acre Fund is definitely an activity-based organization in more ways than one. Just quickly to introduce One Acre Fund, we serve 5 million smallholder farmers in 10 countries in Africa. And so we do try and merge science with delivery systems, as we were discussing just now. And I think I'll summarize the session in a minute, but I just want to tell a quick anecdote from a field visit I did earlier this year. I was in Rwanda to look at our regen ag trials, and I went up to Western Rwanda, which is very hilly, and I wanted to see a cross-section of cover crop trials that were failing and working. And so we'd been trialing cover crops for many years, like other soil improving practices, and it just isn't working. It's not scaling. We can't figure out why. And I went to visit this farmer, Josephine. She had half an acre of land. She was actually the wife of one of our field staff. And so we knew that she was an invested client. She'd been a client of ours for 20 years. So, you know, she was definitely on board with the One Acre Fund model, which I won't explain today because we're not here to introduce organizations. And she told me that she wanted to ditch the regenerative agriculture trials. She was done with the cover crop system. She hated the whole thing. She just wanted maize on credit. That's all she wanted. The whole thing was driving her nuts. And I was trying to unpick why, you know, are you so aggressively anti our trial? And she said, well, her neighbors, the young men in the village, were helping her as casual laborers. And the cover crop and the agroforestry system we were trying to introduce to her took about 5 extra days of their time. And she didn't have the money for that. And we weren't financing that labor cost, right? And the second problem she had was the cover crop seed was about to be charged to her because she'd been part of the trial for 3 years. So we weren't giving it for free anymore. And USAID had been buying all that cover crop seed, and the price of that cover crop seed was extremely expensive in the market. And she was like, why would I continue to do this if my casual laborers are telling me they're not going to turn up and plant things, and you're going to charge me 10 times the price for something I can't sell and I can't eat? Now, if you talk to many others in the sector, scientifically, cover crops are a wonderful thing to plant, right? And many donors are very interested in this kind of regen ag trial. But my point is this, that once these innovations hit the field, you learn totally new things that you never would have expected. And so really, you know, if we want to scale cover crops, we really must finance labor costs, training costs, delivery systems, more than we need to finance seed R&D at this stage. But just to summarize the panel, Usman, I think One Acre Fund has a saying called Abahimsi, farmers first. And from a farmer perspective, I think what we are talking about is farmers adopt what they trust, what they understand, and what reliably and affordably works for them. And then what the panel talks about was all of the systems behind that. We need partnerships, we need the science, we need government, we need delivery systems, we need everything working in concert together. And I'd also say we need a lot more funding and a lot more funding in the right places and blended together in the right ways. So I don't think scaling is really about what's new. I think we have a lot of the evidence already with many of the solutions we're working on. We don't necessarily have all of the evidence for what works for farmers in every single context, in every country we work in. And I'll end on that. Thanks.
Thanks very much for everybody. I think this is very important topics because now the technology is getting handy now. You know, it's the AI era, extra, a lot of tools, a lot of things. And sometimes we need to ask the question, what do we need? What do we need? I mean, there are a lot of good piloting. Everybody can tell you a good story about something that worked in the village. We did this. There are too many projects. I was monitoring or, assessing projects in Africa. And, there are very, very nice best practice and stories. The question is, how can you scale that? So scaling up really is the issue. How? And it was raised by, something might work very well in one area. You use it in another area, completely different. The context is important. Training is important. People need to understand what before they're taking any action. Trust is very important. Climate information, and so there are too many challenges. So we need to start thinking about it and how do we ensure that this thing is working at scale. So thanks very much again for everybody for attending, and have a nice cup. We need a picture for those people who are the panelists first. Can you come with me to take a nice picture? All right. Now you have a gender balance. So Paula here, please.